Hola clase. I am really excited to be able to at least give you some kind of visual. Hopefully this is helpful for some of you. I know I have a lot of visual learners in the class, so hopefully this is helpful for you to be able to focus and get the information and hopefully retain it. So I'm doing a video today because we're jumping into some new vocab words. They're going to be AR verbs. You're going to do the same thing that we've done with our AR verbs in the past. When we go through a vocab list, we're going to go through, get phonetic spelling, we're going to get definitions, and we are going to conjugate them and write them all out. So before I get to that, I just wanted to say, first and foremost, I am so sorry to you guys that I was not able to be in class in person. I felt it was unfair for me to give you new content that I haven't taught you guys yet. That was completely unrelated from previous stuff. So we went through and did all the verbs that we were going to do anyway, but I kind of moved things around so that we didn't end up jumping into anything too new. And my reason for that being, I felt it was unfair for me to give you guys brand new stuff and not actually be there in person to be able to explain it and stuff like that. So I also felt it was unfair for me to give you any type of quiz or anything while I'm not there in person to be able to help you guys study for it and set you up for success. So I hope that it hasn't been too boring and too mundane, but remember, AR verbs, regular AR verbs, present tense, are absolutely fundamental for speaking Spanish. So you guys are learning so many different words, but it's going to give you such a wide vocabulary to say so many different things. So it's not wasted. Hopefully it hasn't been too boring for you guys, but we're going to be jumping into the last AR vocab set that we have, at least for the time being, before we jump into something new. I'm going to be coming back in on Monday the 4th. And on Monday the 4th, we're going to be jumping in, just like hitting the ground running with new stuff. So hopefully I will see each and every one of you there, and it will all work out well. But on Friday, since I haven't been able to give any type of quiz or anything like that, next Friday, so Friday the 8th, I'm going to be giving you guys a test to kind of go over conjugations, AR stuff, the different vocab that we've done for objects, so like lugares, cosas de la clase, all of that. Excuse me, all of that stuff. So you guys will be getting all of that information. We're going to be going over it a little bit in class, but we're going to be jumping in mostly to new stuff. So I will make sure that you guys have like worksheets and stuff that resemble the test, so that you guys have, you guys are kind of familiar of what's going to be expected before test day on Friday. So that's just a heads up. The 8th is when that test is going to be, and I'm going to be back by then. So I'll be back on Monday. On Monday, I'm hoping to have everything graded and completely in, so that Monday we can see where everybody's at and get whatever work needs to get done. So I need you guys to make sure you're turning in everything that you've done to the sub, because the sub is going to hand it to someone who hands it to someone else who hands it to me. So I need to get all of that compiled so I can grade it, put it in this weekend, and have it all done. That way you guys have an accurate kind of way to assess where you're at as far as grades. So with all of that being said, first things first, you should be getting some type of packet from the sub. It will be around 4 to 5 pages, depending on how they do it. They could do like front and back, and it'll be like 3 pages, but if you count each and every page, it'll be about like 4 or 5. Anyway, they're going to be giving you a packet. That packet is going to have a few different sections on it, which we'll go over in a minute. That packet you need to turn in by the end of class tomorrow. So you turn in by tomorrow, hopefully by today, because I'll get it sooner, but turn it in. Make sure you have that turned into the sub so that they can turn it into the chain of people to get it to me, so that I can make sure it's graded in the grade book for you. I'd like to have it graded so I can hand it back on Monday to you guys, so that you have it during the week to be able to study with. So First part of it is para estudiar, study guide, straightforward. Next part, or the first like actual section, goes into conjugation. So first question is asking you, what does it mean to conjugate a word? So conjugating a word, remember I always say it's a very fancy way or a fancy word to say blank. And we'll go through that as we go through like the slides and stuff and go through today's lesson. Next, you're going to be looking for what are the 3 steps to conjugating a verb. Now, I do 3 steps. Some of you guys like to combine step 2 and 3. I am fine with that as long as you have all of those pieces that you need to be able to get to the right outcome. So as long as you guys can get to the right outcome, it's essentially saying the same thing. I don't mind if you combine steps 2 and 3 together, if that's easier for you to remember it that way. And then you have your ending, so you're going to be going through adding what the ending is for each of those pronouns, each of those subjects. And then the next section goes into AR verbs. So this is divided up, this page I divided up into 3 columns. So you're going to have first column is the vocab word. You'll write that down. The next column is phonetic spelling. Remember, phonetic spelling, just a really fancy way to say you're spelling it exactly as you hear it, exactly how it sounds. So however you are going to spell it so that you remember it and you can actually pronounce it, that's the best way to spell it for phonetic spelling. And then definitions. So you'll have definitions after that in the next column. Then the next section is going to be conjugating the vocab words. So you're going to have those endings. You're going to use those endings with each of your verbs. On the top, I made these little like tables for you guys. On the top, there's a little part that says verb. You'll write the vocab word there, and then you will go through with each of the subjects, add the appropriate ending, go through the whole process, make sure every single one of those is conjugated, and then you will be done. So, with that, it kind of, well, you guys will see it, but the reason I'm looking down is because I have my laptop here with all of it up so that I can actually reference it and be able to make sure I'm giving you guys the right information. So while you guys are doing this, you're going to be obviously watching this video, but I also included on Schoology, there is a link for you guys to click and get into the slideshow. So the slideshow has all of the information you need as well. So you'll be getting information in the video, you'll be getting it with the slideshow, and you'll be able to write it down into your packet so you can get full credit. So with that, click on the link that is in Schoology and head straight over to the slideshow. Now you're going to jump past all of the stuff that deals with pronouns because we're pretty familiar with that by now. We know what those mean. Yo is I, tú is you, él is he, ella is she, usted is you formal, nosotros we, vosotros y'all, ellos they masculine, ellas they feminine, and then ustedes, which is you all, either formal or informal. So we're pretty familiar with that. We can jump past all of that. Go down to the slide that says verbs, and it says the definition for conjugate. So remember, conjugate, very, very fancy way to say what? To say you're making the verb ending match with the pronoun or the subject. So you're taking the verb ending and making it match with your subject in the sentence. Remember, we do this in English too. So think I run, you run, but he or she runs. So you wouldn't say I runs or you runs, because that's not right. Grammatically, that doesn't sound right. It's not correct. And you wouldn't say he run, she run, because it does the same thing. Grammatically, it's not correct. It sounds off because we're so used to hearing it said the correct way. So in Spanish, it's the same way, except in Spanish, we have very, very, very specific endings. So we want to know exactly who you're talking about with every single ending. So by looking at the word, we should know what subject is being talked about with that particular verb. So In English, usually it's just adding an S or adding an ES. So like in teach, I teach, you teach, but he or she teaches. Or like the example I gave earlier with run, I run, you run, but he or she runs. So thinking about that, it's the same thing as that we do in English, just very, very specific. So we have more endings to really, really hone in on who is being talked about. Next slide says procedure. Procedure, again, this is my 3-step. You can combine steps 2 and 3 if that helps you remember it. I'm totally fine with that. But 3 steps, first part, obviously AR verbs, you remove AR. Take them out of the way, get them out of your way. They don't need to be there when you're conjugating. You just get them out of the way. Second part, you are going to identify, determine, figure out, point out what is your subject. So what pronoun is being used? Who are you talking about? Are you talking about yourself? Are you talking about somebody else? Are you talking about a group of people? Are you talking about one person? Are you talking to someone? You're determining what that subject is, and then you go on to third step, which is adding the appropriate ending. So based on your subject, you'll be able to go through and get to the correct ending. So what I mean by that, for example, when you're referring to yo, you're referring to I. So you'll take off AR, and then you figure out, okay, I'm talking about myself, I, so I'm going to add an O. For tú, you're adding as or AS. For él, ella, and usted, you're adding an A. So those 3, it stays the exact same for all 3 of them. So you're just adding an A to the end there. And then when you get into nosotros, you add amos or AMOS. For vosotros, remember vosotros is our one that's a little weird. It's mostly used in Spain. And remember in Spain we said it's hot, so they need some kind of thing to cool off their drink. What do we use to cool off drinks? Ice. So for vosotros, that is used typically in Spain, we add ice. A with an accent, IS. So the ending that you'll add on for vosotros is always going to be ice. And then for ellos, ellas, and ustedes, you're going to add an AN or an to the end of that verb. So remember, taking off AR, figuring out which pronoun I'm using, what's my subject, who's being talked about, and then third, adding the appropriate ending to match that subject. So next you guys are going to skip over the blue and the pink slides, and then it should say AR verb vocab 3. That's the one that we did last week, so don't worry about that. Skip forward into where it says AR vocab number 4. That is the ones that we are doing this particular week. So as I go through them, I'm going to go through the full list and say it a few different times for you guys. Say it a few times regular speed, a few times a little bit slower. On the slides, same way as before, it has the word, it has a photo that kind of gives you context for what that word means, and then it has the phonetic spelling written underneath the word. So for definitions later, you can use the pictures in the slides, you can use the blue textbook in page 486 in the back to be able to look up those words, or you can use a Spanish dictionary that's provided in the classroom for you guys. So there are a bunch of different ways that you can get the same result and get those definitions. But first, make sure you have the word written down and the phonetic spelling. So first word is llorar. Llorar. Remember that's a, so for that one is a soft R at the end. So it almost sounds a little bit like a D. So it's not llorar, it's llorar. Very soft R's. So llorar. Next one, manejar. So manejar, I told you that word means something similar to the word guiar. There's something that guiar, we use guiar for, that we also use manejar for. So manejar is the more popular way to say it, but you can